edition of the Cryptid Consortium. I'm your host, Jeremiah Fallon. I've got my two brothers with me, my co-hosts, Mr. Nick Valente and Mr. Gary Spikes Jr. How you doing, fellas?
Oh, doing good. Doing good.
Excellent. We had a great show for you tonight. Nick, why don't you give us a little tidbit on what we're covering tonight?
All right. Well, tonight, which, by the way, is February 5th, 2025. I always like to get that in here, the date of our show. Tonight's the Boggy Creek Monster, which also has another name. The way it's spelt is not really how it's pronounced, but the Fouke Monster. Either the Boggy Creek Monster or the Fouke Monster. Hey, Gary, now you had told me something about this. Why is it called the Boggy Creek Monster?
Because most of the sightings and interactions over the past, say, 50 to 100 years has been based around Boggy Creek, which is just kind of a small creek in there. But I mean, there's a lot more water in that area. But there's also another name that locally goes by. It's called the Boggy Creek Booger. But
okay.
This one's kind of local for me, folks. That's kind of my stomping grounds. I'm from about 20 miles from there. But
wasn't it called the Jonesville Monster at one time too?
No, the Jonesville was in Missouri.
Okay, yeah.
Jonesville was the one. If I'm quoting it right, I remember the Jonesville was the one that was tied in with the Boy Scout troop up in Jonesville, Missouri. Right. They also called it something else. Something creature, or I can't. But yeah, I think that was.
Yeah, slap up our favorite picture of the monster there.
The famous one.
Yeah, that's the famous one.
And share screen. I am a little bit slow on the gun today, folks.
And Jay, who's our buddy, a cryptozoologist out there? Blackburn.
Lyle
Blackburn. Yeah. I think he did a book on this.
Yes, he did.
The Fouke Monster.
Matter of fact, I think this was like his first run of them, wasn't it? Wasn't it like the one that really set him in stone was the Boggy Creek?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Good guy, real good guy, nice
Definitely.
guy.
Lyle's a good guy. He has some good hot sauce too. So if anybody out there likes hot sauce, get Lyle's hot sauce.
I tell you what, if you ever do get out in this country, we'll go down there. That's some of the best eating down there in southwest Arkansas, southeast Oklahoma, north. It's all right there in the corners of the 4 states, but Louisiana and
Well, let's jump into this one. The Boggy Creek Monster, aka the Fouke Monster. It's been seen since the 1940s in Fouke, Arkansas. So we're talking about the state of Arkansas. It's generally about 7 feet tall. It's a Bigfoot-like appearance, as you can see. It's a little thinner than your normal average Bigfoot, but evidently pretty aggressive. And what puts this little fellow, 7 feet tall, puts this guy, puts him apart from regular Bigfoot, is he only has 3 toes.
Yep. Oh, look at here. Here we go.
Yeah, all the prints that are found were just 3-toed.
Three-toed.
There's not much out there that's 3-toed.
And what's funny is they're still finding 3-toed tracks in the area.
Yeah.
It's I don't know if it's a family bunch of them or something, or I'm not for sure.
So I mean, I was able to trace that back to the early 1940s, but in more recent times, we go to Saturday evening, May 1st, 1971. Elizabeth and Bob Ford had just bought a new house, and it was located in the outskirts of Fouke, Arkansas. And the house is kind of located in a heavily forested area. Bob wasn't home. He was out hunting, but pretty close to the house. Elizabeth was lying on a couch right near an open window. I guess they didn't have screens. No, not yet anyway. She's lying on a couch, and it's at nighttime, folks, all right? And a long, hairy arm reaches through the window towards her. She sees it. Oh, here, is that the house?
That is the house of the movie scene, yeah.
That's what they had this built, people. This is a brand new house for them. So anyway, she screams her lungs off. And her husband and brother-in-law, Don, who were nearby hunting, they ran to the house and they fired their shotguns at what they saw was a large creature. The creature disappeared into the woods. Bob and Don, I guess, I don't know what the heck they thought they were doing, but they gave chase, but returned to the house. I guess they must have thought it was a bear or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
But a reporter from the Associated Press quoted Elizabeth as saying that the monster had eyes like coals of fire. Real red eyes, glowing red eyes. I thought she just saw the hand coming in at her, but evidently it must have poked its head in there too while he was at it. Get this, whatever this thing was, it comes back later the same night. This is hours later. The creature returns, hitting the front door. I mean, seriously? Come on.
At least he knocked.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. They should have had a doorbell. That would have been crazy. But Bob went outside to chase it away, but the monster grabbed him. He was able to get away and ran into the house. I mean, I would say he was one lucky guy,
Yeah.
to be able to get away. But according to Bob, this thing had claws on it, or long fingernails. So anyway, the Fords reported the incident to the Fouke police, and they moved away the next day. They were like, no, not enough's enough. Once is enough, and then it came back. Forget about it. So anyway, the only physical evidence of the night's events were scratches on Bob's body and some 3-toed footprints that they found. And they found quite a few marks, on the ground of a 3-toed creature. The violence and intrusive nature of the event, made the Fouke Monster unique, and not to mention the 3 toes being unique.
Yeah.
And, for most Bigfoot encounters, this doesn't happen. Doesn't come back again. It just stays away. Doesn't come knocking on the door and grab somebody. But, long story short, no one else moved away in the town, only these people. Everyone in Fouke was going Bigfoot crazy, as you can imagine. Reporters poured in, at the mention of the sighting of a large, hairy, dark beast haunting the farms and roads of the area, stealing livestock. A lot of the farmers reported, to the Fouke police, livestock was missing. So, there was something going on here. There was multiple rewards offered, and one was from a radio station, one was from a newspaper, and one was from a fellow. I didn't get his name, though. I don't know. Either you guys find out the name of this fellow who offered a reward. He wanted it captured alive so he could, show.
Oh, the oil man, the oil tycoon. No, I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I can't remember it either.
Well, like I said, a lot of rewards were offered for its capture. Not dead or alive. They wanted it alive. I mean, good luck with that, right? Some of the tracks found, now check this out. Some of the tracks found were 13.5 inches long by 4.5 inches wide, but only 3 toes.
Yeah, here's a picture of them right here on you.
Yeah.
Now, folks, this picture is actually from the police report of 1971.
Yeah, that's really something.
13.
That's what makes the Fouke Monster, the Fouke Monster. I'm sorry, I keep wanting to call it the Fouke Monster. That's what makes the Fouke Monster unique among Bigfoot, if in fact it is a Bigfoot.
Right.
That it has just 3 toes. Anyway, a movie was released in 1974 called The Legend of Boggy Creek. It caused an uptick in monster hunters in that area, and a big uptick in visitors in the Fouke, Arkansas area. Today, You can visit the Fouke Monster Mart. That's what they call it, the Monster Mart. It's a museum and a store dedicated to the creature. There's also a Fouke Monster Festival where the party in honor, of the local legend just goes on for days at a time, and people actually flock to these things. But at the time when they were offering these rewards, you got teams of people coming in there, and individuals also, by the dozens and dozens, and they were trying to find this thing. But in the meantime, while they were trying to find it, you still had like all kinds of livestock going missing. One farmer had a cow go missing. Like what happened? They actually tracked the cow's footprints out of his regular pasture area, and then maybe about 100 feet into the next area, and then at that point, all footprints disappeared.
Wow.
So, I mean, they had trackers out there. They had dogs, everything. People were trying to find it because evidently that would you say, Gary, an oil millionaire guy?
I was thinking he was a oil millionaire, but the way they're saying is he's the one that footed up the money for the documentary for the guy to do it. But there was, the local radio station did put up I think it was $1,000 or $15, $100 reward for it.
Yeah, unfortunately, nobody ever found it. But I mean, from the 40s, and then it went away, and then it woke up and came back, I guess, in the 70s, and just wanted to say hey to the new neighbor, that lady reaching its hand in. But but Jay, I mean, seriously now, I mean, this is kind of aggressive behavior. What type of what thing you think? I mean, it looks like a Sasquatch. It's 7 feet tall.
I'm thinking, a lot of Gary, you'll probably agree with me on this. How a lot of Bigfoot researchers think there's 4 types. I think there's more, unless we're dealing with we could be dealing with different entities as well.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, the aggressiveness of this thing, type 3 Sasquatches are known to be extremely aggressive. So that's kind of the way I'm leaning right now, is either, maybe a type 3 Sasquatch or a different, another entity altogether.
Yeah.
Something that looks like a Sasquatch, but has a little bit of the mean streak in it as well.
Yeah, the Squatch that I know of that's aggressive is a Gugway, the face.
Yep.
And then, Jay, you mentioned, we were talking before,
Genasqua. The Genasqua. Yeah.
And I mentioned that's the one that I heard in my research showed that thing would roll in the mud and all sticky, and then roll in rocks, so that it could have an armored plating. And
yes,
evidently they're pretty aggressive also.
Extremely.
But this thing doesn't have the physique of a regular Sasquatch at all.
It doesn't.
It's like a rangy type, and
well, I mean, it doesn't have the physique of what everybody thinks a Sasquatch does. But as we, Jeremiah, you're down in the South, Nick, you're in the South now, but, we're finding out that I've been doing this in Oklahoma here for 20 plus years, and we're getting a lot more reports of smaller, gangly type the farther south we get. And it's like we've discussed many a time. We do have some reports of the bigger ones, but it seems just like with black bears and brown bears, up north, your animals are a lot bigger and rangier than they are down here. And, I have to reiterate on something, Nick, you was talking about the aggressive nature of this thing. That's a norm for Oklahoma and Texas and Louisiana. They're ornery down here. It's like they got a bad attitude or something.
Yeah, they are ornery down there.
But and then another thing too is that when it got into the Ford's house, one thing that we'll talk a little bit later about the movie is they show the kid shooting the shooting at it and everything else. Well, what they're not understanding is, according to the reports, that was in the 40s and 50s.
Right.
That was, so they took all the reports and put them together. So I'm not saying because I love the movie. I mean, that's what got me started on Bigfoot. A lot of us was Legend of Boggy Creek, very well put together. It's supposed to have been a documentary, and then they kind of turned it into a more of a fictional. But they kind of elude this thing as it all happened right at once, but it didn't. I personally know the people that was involved in the area. The matter of fact, I can get him on the phone right now. The guy that played the Bigfoot in the movie, Keith Crabtree. Shorty Crabtree was the little boy that had seen him, and it's still going on down there. I've had personal experiences down there. The three-toed tracks, even a commonality. I've seen them down there. Now I've got my own idea on that I'll get to here a little bit later. But how would we say this? When it reached through the window at the Ford girl, we don't know how aggressive that nature is to him. He could have been reaching through saying, "Hey, baby, come here and give me a kiss." I mean, I would take that as aggressive. I'd put a bullet in him too, Yeah. But then they shot at it, and then
With
it comes,
with shotguns.
With shotguns. But one thing that they don't report in the movie that is in a lot of the reports that I did, and then they come back and roughed him up and they shot at it again, but there was no blood traces found. And if this thing was any distance, the types of shotguns that they had, they might have had a pump, but most genuinely they'd had a single shot breakover loaded with bird shot. It's just gonna piss the thing off. It ain't gonna and that would be the reason to come back. But there are even reports before and after, even like the Circes. The Circes seen it later. A few days. It was seen a few days later after that happened in April of '72, running across the street, and then the Circes seen it. And like I said, they kind of all put it together in the movie, but it's over a period of time. So this was not over a period of 2 or 3 days. We're talking months to years.
Right.
But like I said, there's still a lot of a lot of sightings down there now, and it's not like I said, it's not very far. It's within. Well, I could walk myself, as crippled up as I am. I could walk from my research area where I have all my stuff in to down there in about a day and a half.
Wow.
I mean, it's not very far. My wife was raised up, 30 miles from there. Folks, if y'all don't know where Fouke is, it's just northeast of Texarkana, Texas.
You have that on Google Earth?
Yep. Yes, I do.
Let's take a look at that, where the Ford house was.
Okay.
We'll see.
Share screen.
While you're looking for it, I don't know. Is there such a thing as a hybrid type of Sasquatch?
Well, there very well could be. I mean, that's the whole thing. Or even inbred would cause. Inbred is known to cause. We've discussed this a bunch, Jeremiah.
Yep.
Has been known to cause 3 toes or even extra digits. But the 3-toed is not. The 3-toed is not just here. Now here's one crossover that I need to get a hold of Miss Dana Hollyfield, because I want to find out, because Harlan Ford, recognize the last name, in the 60s, just prior to this, in Honey Island Swamp, not very far away, not but about 150, 200 miles away. 3-toed tracks, a lot of the same description. Then you have this coming out. So one of two, I don't know if they're family or what, but that river system and that swamp system starts over here on the west side of Oklahoma, the Red River, and flows all the way down into the Sulphur, all the way down into the Sabine, all the way down into the Mississippi. It's all tied together. But just kind of zoom out here a little bit. Can y'all see that?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the corner. Here's Arkansas. Here's Texarkana. And I'm from up here in Oklahoma. And then you've got Louisiana is right here. Zoom in. Fouke is actually southeast of Texarkana, but you've got this the Sulphur River basin. And as I was telling you guys, this Mercer Bayou, which they talk about in the movies and stuff, it's pretty big. I've canoed all over this thing. I love it down there.
They got gators and stuff in there, and snakes.
Oh yeah, we it'd be 2017, 2018.
Yeah.
2018, I think. I helped the Miller County, Arkansas Miller. He was a Miller county representative of the Arkansas Game and Fish right here, we actually recorded, and I had seen it. Me and my wife was camping right here, but we ran up here in the swamp boat and seen the 13'7" alligator. Was a state record at that time, and was able to help them document it. But so anyways,
Yeah, the Ford House. Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, the Ford House is up here.
Here, zoom in.
Just a second, I gotta find Fouke. Okay, as you can see, Fouke. Now, folks, one thing I do want to make a point. All these little patches and stuff back in the 60s and 70s, if this was anything like our area in Oklahoma, that was not like that. It was a lot less people and it was a lot rougher.
A lot more forested, right?
Yeah, a lot more forested. But here's the town of Fouke, the Miller House, the actual Miller House location. The Miller House is not standing no more, but the Miller House was right here next to Chicken Creek, they call it.
Okay.
Yeah, Chicken Creek. But that's where the Miller House was, and they had that sighting there. And then they're saying a few days later, farther north, up here by the actual creek, by the Baptist church in the creek up here, they seen the at Ferguson Crossroads. They seen it cross Highway 71. But I mean, these things don't go by boundaries and all that. Flat out, the thing's hanging around in the Mercer Bayou. It's thick in there, thick and woolly. If you ever watch the movie, just kind of, I always thought it was kind of cool. If you watch the movie, the old man that's in the swamp, his shack is, I've actually found that in the Mercer Bayou and Mercer Lake is actually right here, and we've camped there multiple times. It's now you got to understand a lot. They've been draining for the last 5 or 10 years. Every year or two, they drain Mercer Bayou to get some of there's an invasive lily pad that's coming in there, and they've been draining it out to kill that out. But when it's full, it's about a 10-mile row, unless you put in right here. We usually put up here by my campsite, and we row into right here. We row into right here and then row across on the through the bayou there. But anyways, we've camped there multiple nights overnight and heard all kinds of stuff splashing, and you can't. Well, we've heard some howls too. Now I will say personally, I honestly think that there's dogman in this area too, and that could be where some of the sightings are coming from. I've got pictures of coy wolves and recordings of coy wolves that we've got here. But anyways, that's where the old man shack is. Other than that, there's not a whole lot. This was spread out over, a long period of time. Now, one of my personal experiences, this dock and boat ramp right here. We had me and like 10 other people from different groups was in there, ranging from all over the state. We had a little episode in there, or a little jaunt or research project, if that's what you wanted to call it.
Can you zoom in on that a little more? Keep going.
It's drained down now in this picture, but normally the water comes all the way up in here.
In there,
yeah. And then you can drive in, and then we'd put our kayaks in here. We would drive in from over. Oh, here we go. We'd drive in from right here.
Okay.
But anyways, we had pulled up to this little area here, and over to the side here, we pulled up, and there's about 8 people behind us, probably about 30 minutes behind us, because we got in being en route, had 2 guys in each canoe. So we got in a little race, and we pulled up there and sat there, and we was all just sitting there, just talking and stuff like that. And about 10 yards into the woods, I was sitting facing the guys behind me. You heard a crack, 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 pop. And as I spun around and looked, and the other guys looked too, we seen because we went in there and looked, we seen about an 8-inch tree, and you could see it pushing over in the top of something was literally pushing it over like a bulldozer. Was pushing it over about 10 yards into the woods. And when we went in there, we found tracks. And Jeremiah, you've heard my famous story of tracking what we thought was a dog man for 3/4 of a mile, and it just disappearing in a opening.
Yep.
We were sitting right here, and and I tracked that rascal all the way to right there.
Wow.
And it literally just faded. And that's where I'm getting at with this. I 100% believe that there's something in that area. What it is, I don't know if it's a variation of Bigfoot, if it's a dog man or what, because the tracks to me being long, 13 and a half inches and narrower,
Mm-hmm.
kind of condoned me, more for dog man and some of the audio that's come out of this area and stuff. But it's definitely a fun area to get to. Now, the only other thing I can say about the three toes, I didn't collect the samples. I didn't see, you seen, let's go back to that. Matter of fact, I want to stop share. I wanted to explain this because Jeremiah, you yourself have witnessed this in North Carolina. Me and you went over it, and Nick, you was right involved in that. Let's go back to the track and the cast.
Yep.
When you look at that, when I look at that right there, the first thing I think is that's two separate tracks. See how it's got that looks like what most people call a metatarsal break in the middle?
Yeah. Yes.
That literally to me looks like the tail end, the back foot of an alligator and the front foot of an alligator. They're three-toed because a lot of these tracks are known to have claws.
Yeah.
Alligators looks like they have claws.
Yep.
Jeremiah, you remember that track you found in northeastern Oklahoma you thought was like that? And it was where an alligator had put in and slid.
Yes. Yep. And I remember sending it to you. I didn't know. I didn't know what the hell to think of it.
Yeah, and then we ended up.
It's like when a deer, if you ever track a deer, it's the overprint.
Yes.
They'll put down their front, and then their rear leg will come right there, right where that front one was. So it looks bigger than normal.
Bears.
Just want to explain this to the folks out in the audience there, and that's what happens a lot of times.
Absolutely.
People think that it's a giant print, and it's actually just an overprint.
Absolutely. Bear tracks are known for that.
Known for it. Yeah, absolutely.
Especially up in the Northeast. But here's the thing that I always tell people: if they find one like that, I always say look for more, because that's how I disdain. They say on average, even a bear, like a black bear or a brown bear, I call it a double step, double overlay. There's actually a terminology for it, but they'll only do it like one in every 500 steps. So that's the first thing to find out is if you have one and you have consistent ones, then it's something else. It's not going to be a double step, But alligators are known when they come up out of the ground, up out of the water, to put their foot in and they'll slide back and their claws will dig in and it'll make it look. But I'm not saying that's what the deal, what happened here, because too many creditable people that I know personally, even family members and people that I've researched with over the years have had sightings down in this country, and pretty adverse. And there's been a lot of good pictures come out of this, that area. And I'll be honest with you, from southeastern Oklahoma in our area up there, even to like the Area X from the AWAC guys, all the way down there, is biologically feasible for any major predator to be able to move through that area because of all the rivers and the mountains. Because you literally got mountains, what we call mountains. You guys wouldn't. They're not as big as the Rocky, but we got the Kiamiches is only an hour northwest. Right. But there's been a lot of credible people that's had, sightings from even up until last year and this year. I've had a friend that had a sighting down there. Now, Jeremiah, this is also the area that I was telling you where my cousin was coon hunting and something ran his dogs straight up out of the woods.
Yes.
And heard the big howl and the snarl, and they come and I know those dogs personally. Them dogs would rip into a cougar or anything, and they come and they literally beat them back to the truck, jumped into the truck, peeing themselves, curled up in the dog boxes, just shaking.
Gary, throw up the other photos that we got.
Yeah. So something scared the hell out of those dogs.
Oh,
there you go.
I think this is actually a what do you call it? A print from Lyle's book, isn't it?
I think so. I don't know.
And this is from the cover of the actual Legend of Boggy Creek.
Yeah, and then where's the other one?
And then there's that one. That was another thing too. I actually talked to Mr. Crabtree, the one that had the sighting and shot at it, and knowing that family personally, like because our family's all from down in that area, there's a lot of credibility there to me. Just the interaction, he was talking that story years later, 40, 50 years later, and it was still affecting, And that's another thing too. You get just to the south and east of here, you get down in the Honey Island, the Sabine River bottom, Lake Palestine. You get down in Rougarou country. You talk about Rougarous, they talk about the three-toed Trent.
Right down there in Louisiana, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is literally Fouke is literally 10 miles from the Louisiana border.
The face on this thing even looks a bit different than the regular.
Yes.
That you would see out there.
That's the reason I'm leaning towards maybe in the way it was acting, maybe inbred or
hybrid.
Just different. Now this is the original. This is where they had some police coming in to do the search, and this was one of the original pictures from the police report of the Fort House. I was able to go through Miller County and find some of these pictures you can actually fit. And then here's Mr. Lyle standing in front of the Searcy house, what's left of the Searcy house standing. And this was a few years ago. I don't think that it's the Searcy's house even standing anymore. I'll find out because we're going back down there in March. We'll be down in there in March. But see what else. I think that's all of them.
Yeah, I understand. Lyle did quite a bit of research on that.
He did. Yeah. And he is, I've been in the woods in the area with him down there, walking around and him telling about his research and stuff and going, of course, I'm a big fan of the small town monsters, but there's another one that I'd put right up there with Lyle. If you ever get down in there and wanted to talk about the Boggy Creek guy, of course, Keith Crabtree is one of the best, but a man by the name of William Lungsford. If you can find him, get a hold of him. He's been on a lot of the documentaries. Now he's had a lot of personal experiences and sightings down there himself, but he lives in Texarkana and researches from Texarkana all the way up into southern Oklahoma where I'm at. Yeah. But we need to get him on y'all's other show and y'all talk to him.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Good idea. Yeah,
we can do it. I got his phone number. It's funny. I always laugh. I don't answer everybody, but I always answer you because you don't call me all the time unless it's good. But no, just with I gotta be careful how I say this. Knowing the people from that area in that time frame. I was born in 1978, so I wasn't even born when the Boggy Creek Monster, Fouke Monster happened. Right. But a lot of my family, grandparents, parents, aunts, and uncles are all from down in that country. And it's not how would you put it? It's not a non-common thing, or it's a very common thing for the Fouke Monster. They call it Fouke Monster. The Boggy, we always called it the Boggy Creek Booger, but all the way over into southern Oklahoma, over by Lake Texoma and stuff. It's just a common thing for our family as a folklore, and I like how they put it in the movie that it is a kind of a folklorish thing, but it's really not. There's got to be something there for that many people over that amount of time. It's kind of like up there in New York and even in the Pacific Rim, Pacific North. I can't even talk. Northwest Pacific. We'd be awful arrogant to not think that there couldn't be something in there because that's a pretty thick area here.
So what do you think it is, Gary?
Myself?
Yeah.
I think it's a conglomerate of, over a period of time, of a species of either Sasquatch and I have never personally seen a dogman, but I have tracked some weird tracks ranging from here all the way up into southeastern Oklahoma. I've had personal experiences. I had my sighting. Matter of fact, my sighting is an hour and as you drive, probably 82 miles northwest of here. And I know what I seen. I think it's probably
in the truck.
Yeah.
That's 18 inches away from your face. So
yes, that's the reason I'm saying I know what I seen. And I would be stupid not to say that it couldn't be down there because that thing could have covered down there. Of course, it looked totally different than what they described this as, but it could easily cover that ground. I could have covered that ground, I really think there is something down there. I think there's multiple things around there, ranging from hybrid wolf dogs, coy dogs, because we caught them on film. We've caught them, people shot them. To they've got panthers in there. They've got for lack of better terms, lions, tigers, and bears. I don't know about tigers, but there's something moving around down there. There's too many sightings, and it just makes sense in a survivalist, biological sense that if I was going to be surviving somewhere, that's where it would be. It would be easier to survive right here. Let me switch back over.
Okay.
Just to do the point. It would be easier to survive in this area right here than it would be anywhere in the Pacific Northwest, because you can't go 5 miles without hitting a farm. You can't go 10 miles without hitting a ranch. There's people, some of the areas in here there's houses. Well, you can see within 2 miles of the river, you can hit 30 ranches. So you've got pets, you've got gardens, you've got trash cans because people like to throw out their food, you've got chickens, and something with a little bit of intelligence, man, or even a human. Horse feed, you can eat horse feed real easy in a survivalist sense. And the temperate climate, the climate down here is a lot easier to survive than it is. And then you get on down into Louisiana. I mean, you've got, just like in the documentary of that Dana Hollyfield put out, they brought in the Army Ranger, which wouldn't know nothing about that. But you can eat snakes, you can eat anything down in that country. It's easy to survive into this area.
What about you, Jay? What do you think it is?
I'm going kind of with Gary. I think it's just it's either a type of Sasquatch or something like a Sasquatch, a different entity altogether, but like it's similar to a Sasquatch.
Yeah,
one or the other.
Yeah, I feel it's a hybrid type of Sasquatch.
Yeah,
something that's not generally seen that much.
right.
On the common. I mean, common sightings up in Canada, up in the Washington State, Oregon, California, or the one that we see, on the internet and everything. Muscular, big, very thick. This thing is rangy and there's just something different about it. But I guess
built
different.
Like a pro basketball player.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's, like I said, it's more common down here to get them built like that than it is like what I seen. The one I seen was just massive.
Yes, I can agree with you there, Gary. Oh, sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
It could you wouldn't. It could be age. It could be female, male. It could be. I mean, looking at this screen right now, I'm 5'9", 300 pounds. Nick, you're what, 5'10", 180, 190 pounds probably, too. Jeremiah, you're right at 6 foot, 200 pounds. So we've got a variety right here,
Oh, no, he's bigger than that.
I'm going to 225 these days, Gary.
Oh, well, yeah. I'm still the fat boy of the bunch. But you see what I'm saying? And it just genetically, it makes, even if you look at the predators from down here, the bears, black bears, are not near as big as they are in North Carolina. And so, in South Carolina, they're dang sure not as big as they are up in the Adirondacks where you're at. The deer are not that big here. You get the farther northwest and northeast you get, genuinely the farther north you get in the colder climates, because the animals have to have the mass to keep themselves warm. It just, to me, genetically, it makes sense. I would lean more towards it being a physical creature than I would a spiritual, because of course, I haven't been in the community for a couple of years because I don't believe in a lot of that, but I haven't heard a lot of the woo per se coming from this area. It's more physical, Yeah.
I tell you what, I agree with you too, Gary, because what we saw in North Carolina, I know they all these things look different, even in the same regions, but when we were in North Carolina, the one we saw down there was totally different than what we've seen up here.
Yeah,
totally different.
Well, you think about it, something that's tall and rangy like that, if it gets up north, it's going to have to bulk up.
It's going to have to.
that's another factor that we've discussed before too, that a lot of people don't factor in. A bear, a full-grown brown bear will range from either, they'll go up to 1,200-1,500 pounds, but let's just say you've got a bear that weighs 1,000 pounds when he's fed well. From wintertime to when he goes into his den is where he'll be fed up the most. He'll be 1,000 pounds from eating the salmon and all that. Come midsummer up until midsummer when they come out, they can drop 300 to 400 pounds.
Oh, easy, yeah.
I had a very, very, to me, it was wonderful discussion with, I can't even think of his name. You talk about brain fart, and I'm so sorry. The doctor from Idaho State that does the casts.
Melvin.
Yeah, Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum, about how a bear's track will narrow. That you can't change the biomechanics of the skeleton, but they will definitely narrow. I've seen bear tracks up when I was in Wyoming, Utah. The same bear was able, because we was tracking him, he was tagged, would change, 1 inch to 2 inches depending on his mass in his flesh, but it would keep the length. So, you take something 7 foot tall down here, if he's fed up, he'd probably get, 4 or 5 foot in the shoulders. Sure. But if he's struck way down, from moving down here, and even heat wise, man, you talk about the Florida, the skunk ape. You don't hear them they're built more like what this guy is: 7 foot tall, rangy, orange colored, brown colored. I think it just makes sense, because if you look at the natural fauna of the area and the other animals here compared to up north, Then you get the anomaly like the one that I seen that was well over 8 feet tall and shoulders 5 foot across, and I don't even want to think about that no more.
Yeah, I don't blame you. A little close for comfort.
Even like you said, the ones you've seen in North Carolina, and South Carolina, built totally different than the female and the male that you and Stacy seen up in that area.
Totally different. Totally different. Yep.
And then we got what Nick seen, and I don't ever want to see one of them. and
I thought it was a bear until I got close.
Nope. I don't know how many bullets it'd take, but I know how many I'd use. All of them.
Talking about the brown bears, I mean, they could be like 9 feet tall, 1,800 pounds. Brown bear are aggressive, and they're big.
Average score of the Alaskan brown bear, a coastal brown bear, not the inner brown bear, this year. I was just reading an article in Field and Stream about it. Average scoring was 9 3/4. So they're ranging from 9.5 feet to well over 10.
Oh God!
And that's a lot of calories that thing has to eat.
Absolutely.
Oh my God!
They're hunting down deer, taking them out, and
absolutely. But that's the whole thing. You're not going to see if a bear like that escaped down here, he's not going to stay that size down here.
No,
he's on drop weight, and that's the same way with like I said, the deer down here. A big deer is 150 pounds. You get up farther in the northwest or northeast. Well, it's just like I think the biggest moose on record's coming out of upper Adirondacks, where you're at, Jeremiah.
Yeah, it is. It's close to 2,000 pounds.
Yeah. You ain't gonna see nothing like that down here. It's just our idea of a big deer down. I mean, we've got elk in southeastern Oklahoma, but they'll only run 250, 300 pounds because they're brought in. They're not originally from there. Like I said, a humongous. The biggest 10-point I ever shot in Oklahoma weighed 225.
They're a good sized deer, though.
Oh yeah. But even your wolves, now we do have northern wolves moving into the area down here, but they're still not as big as the ones in Montana, where they're 4 foot at the shoulders and weighing 225, 230. Down here, there might be 3 foot, and even a coy dog or a coy wolf will be 3 foot and 125, 130 pounds,
Right.
And then that's a factor too with this thing. We're not for sure if it is a Sasquatch. It could be a dog man. It could be something else. It could be,
something we've never heard of.
Yeah. Well, you never know.
You don't know. We don't know. I definitely think it's something different than a regular Sasquatch. That's for sure.
But
definitely looks like it.
Unlike a lot of the cryptids that we've covered, this thing has been, even up until the sightings that we've had and seen, and even the behaviors has been consistent over the years. It's not been one off over here this way, one off over this way. You know, the reports that I've messed with, you do get the ones where, oh, I spoke with my mind to it and it told me to
right.
you know, I'm talking about, and I'm not going to say they're not legitimate. They very well might be, but they're just not my cup of tea. But the norm, if any of them's normal, but it's been consistent, you know, 7 foot tall, rangy, 3-toed, so a lot of the same attitude. You know, I've heard people down at Mercer at Smith Park, just north of Mercer Bayou, these things come right through their camp and just when they leave, like 10 minutes after they leave, come through their camp, knock their tables over, get in their ice chest and stuff, just cantankerous, you know, just on.
Just bad attitude.
Yeah.
BA.
I mean, a pretty, you're talking about the description and the size, there's, he's been all over the place. But I actually talked to him probably 5-6 years ago. A guy got attacked by one in southeastern Oklahoma, not 60 miles from here, by something that looked like a chimpanzee, and he shot it in the forehead with a .22 Magnum, and it ran off. That's a real famous report. I actually got to contacted him and talked to him, and I'm just gonna say, I hope I don't make him mad, but either the man's telling an awful good story or something actually did happen because of the emotional trauma that the man went through, you know.
Right.
But they're cantankerous in that area. And I know they're damn sure in that area. I can't say that he didn't see something because it wasn't 40 miles from where I had my sighting. And I mean, it would be like, I can't call you a liar. I'd be calling myself one, you know?
Right. So it looked like a chimpanzee. You said that's interesting.
Yeah, that's what he said. It looked more, it had a rounder face, and it was about 6.5 feet tall, real aggressive. I mean, it physically attacked him. I'll find that report. And Wes Germer actually took that's where I heard it the first time, and then I found out who he was and contacted him. And I mean, another famous siege of Hanobia.
Yes.
A lot of the same behaviors.
And that's right near where you had your encounter too, isn't it? In that area?
Like 6 miles.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, I was on the ridge that Mike and them talk about them coming down off the ridge. I was on top of that ridge, just a little bit north. But but even the behavior there, even years later, when a lot of us go in there researching, them things get ornery. You know, we've had them throw rocks at us. We've had them, you know, do all kinds of stuff at us, like calling and just being silly, you know.
Yeah, they definitely have a different attitude down south because even with looking different from what we saw in North Carolina, they acted different. Like you just said, I've had boulders thrown at me from different directions, you know, and
well, I kind of wonder if it might be because there's a lot more population down here. They can get away from people up north, you know, even in Alaska and stuff. And everything down here, dude, the people in the South, we're kind of nutty. We see something, we shoot first, ask questions later. You know, I mean, I hate to put it that way, but we've won many of wars with that attitude, you know. But and it's a lot more populated down here. Our dogs are more aggressive. We genuinely teach our dogs to be more aggressive than, you know, you can make a dog aggressive anywhere, but genuinely I guarantee you in the South down here, 3 out of 5 houses you walk up in the yard, the dog is probably going to get you.
Yeah.
And we've just been taught that way, you know.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. And you're right. They focus on the Ford sighting and the Ford, you know, when they attacked the Ford house and that. But you know, I'm reading right in front of me. You know, the sightings have, you know, they carried on from that point right up until present day.
Yeah, and even back into, like Nick was saying, back into the 40s and 50s. Matter of fact, the young man that shot the one was not in the 70s. That was in the 50s.
50s.
And I did read that you was talking about the Jonesboro. I was thinking of the Mo. They call it the Mo.
Momo, yeah.
Yeah, Momo. Well, there is Jonesboro, Arkansas, which is 20 miles northeast of up by Hot Springs. There was a situation back in the 40s. I was just reading it in one of the history reports of where they was calling it the Jonesboro.
1946 right here, when it was called Jonesville Monster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, based on the town where it was initially cited again in the mid 60s. The creature didn't make local headlines until 71, when it was said to have attacked the home of Bobby and Elizabeth Ford. Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's another thing about the down south. It's getting to be a little bit better now. A lot of folks are tight-lipped about it. Ain't no telling how many sightings. For every one that somebody comes forward, there's probably 10 or 15 that people's not.
Yeah.
It's getting better because it's not as taboo.
Yeah.
One of my earliest memories in my life is my grandparents. I've told y'all this about making the two gardens, the one over for us, and then my grandmother being Cherokee Indian, and she was full-blown Pentecostal. She was hardcore religious, but she said, I'm making that for the folks in the woods. And I'm like, folks in the woods, and being raised up, until I got 12, 13 years old, and even then we'd be playing in the woods or down at the pond fishing. Granddad would come out and honk that horn 3 times, and if you didn't hit the back door by the time he quit honking, when he had to come down and get you, this was before dark. They didn't want us out there after dark.
Right.
He would lay your butt open with a belt,
Yeah.
And it makes you think, I have to quote, Tim Coombo Baker and Bear, when they call them boogers, we've literally, the boogeyman, they call it a booger man down here, but my family's been in this country since 1826, since before the Civil War. And they've been talking about these things. So there's got to be something, it is kind of folklorish, but there's something based upon that,
Yeah, like you said, Gary, a few minutes ago, we'd be ignorant to think there wasn't.
Yeah.
With all the sightings. Not all these people are lying about their sightings. Let's be real,
Yeah. Well, it's just like I was just goofing off the other day online, and a guy talking about Jersey, the Pine Barrens in Jersey.
Yeah.
I saw the Jersey Devil again. What he thought was the Jersey Devil, and he took a picture of it and turned out to be a drone. But anymore you could see something like that and think it was, you never know. I'm not going to say they're not there, because the one moment I did, and then I seen what I saw. Now sometimes I wonder, like I tell you all the time, there's no doubt in my mind that it's there.
You're right.
There's no doubt in my mind that I seen something, but what did I actually see?
What did you see? Yeah,
that's where the research comes in.
I think the same thing sometimes. What did I see? Was it an actual Sasquatch, or was it a different entity altogether?
Well, that's a whole nother show. But yeah,
it is.
Don't get me on a high horse on that one, and we'll be here for 2 or 3 hours, because I'm so sick of these people. Oh, my friendly forest giant friends, or I have mind speak with them, and I'm like, yeah, you're mind speaking with something, but I don't think it's no Sasquatch. It's because even the end times, all the prophecies, not just Christianity, but everything, the Sumeric scrolls, the Dead Sea Scrolls, all of them talk about it, that in the last days there's going to be mighty things coming from the woods, and the how does it put that, the beast of the field will feast on the corpses of man. And I'm like, you people are just, y'all keep talking to them and tell them to go the other way. I don't want, like Nick driving down the road and seeing that thing sitting on the side of the road, dude. That would mess with me more than, because even biologically, it's like a monkey and a man, okay, but a dog and a man,
no, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and people have been smoking some funny oregano, I'll tell you.
Well, just like you said, though, you would say that too, but you saw it yourself.
Yep.
I mean, that's where I tell a lot of these, I don't say younger researchers, but new researchers, I can't wait to see one. I want to see one. And I'm like,
I bet.
No, you don't.
Be careful what you wish for. I wish
No.
I'm just now to where I can get back in the woods peacefully in the last year or two.
Right.
And
You don't want to see something you can't unsee.
yeah. Yeah. And it definitely ain't no unseeing some of that.
No.
I mean,
Yeah,
Gary, that
yeah.
thing coming up to your truck window 18 inches away. I mean, that's a little rough.
You want to know something that's funny? I was watching, I don't normally watch horror movies, but I've kind of got on this kick here lately. And I was watching some movie called Snow Beast the other day.
Is that about the skier that went missing? Or
No, it's about the guy that's in the wheelchair. And
okay.
he's in one cabin and he's watching a girl through another cabin and stuff. But it was what caught my attention, of course, being a man. She's good looking. She comes walking out of the shower and woohoo! And I'm looking real close. And then she just walks in front of this window, and then all you see is this window's like this big, and this thing's head's in the window like this. And it's not even good makeup, but it's just the point, man. I about to come unglued. I turned it off. Went and got my pistol, got old Scout in my lap, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I'll be right back. Shutting all the blinds on the windows. I live in town, but it's just one of them things that you can't undo it. You just have to deal with it. Like the sighting that you had where you got in, and I'm not gonna ever discrepate mine speak because until it's not happened to me, but I believe that you got that impression that it did it with you. It's like you don't want to grab that gun.
No, and that's she gave me that look. You do not go ahead and skin it and see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, in the combat world, like, and even in the physical combat where you did, when you do it enough, you get into, I think we detune ourselves a lot with these telephones and all the technology.
Absolutely.
I think we do have a primitive fight or flight because just you in the the martial arts and in the MMA world, you get to where when you know where they're going to hit, when they're coming, where they're acting, you dodge it. Guys combat like me and Nick, we go. I always call it my spidey sense, but your combat sense. But you get that eerie feeling in the back of your neck or in the pit of your stomach, and you better start looking. And it might be something as simple as. Might be something, and for me, it might have been something as simple as you look down there, there's a booby trap in front of you or an IED in front of you, or it might be something as there's 10 or 15 people fixing to jump over the top of the hill at you,
Right. Yeah. Well, gentlemen, it's been an hour already.
Oh, yeah.
I think this is our first one actually for the year, isn't it? No, we did one first part.
We did one other one.
Yeah, we did one in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I want to say this, folks. I want to apologize a lot for our consistency right now.
Yeah.
We're all kind of going through a lot, but I'll take the blame for that. My wife I'll go ahead and announce it. She said I can. My wife's fighting cancer. So we're dealing with that. And I'm sorry. My wife comes first, and these guys they're nuts. They won't do it. I think y'all did do the first show without me because of everything going on. But she is getting better. And I've even noticed in the comments on some of these shows that thanks for the prayers, but
absolutely. Yeah.
All right, everybody. So listen, if you do go out there poking around looking for Boggy, Dogman, or whatever cryptid you're looking for, just be careful. Don't go out alone, please.
Yes, please don't. Don't do what I do and break my own rules.
Please. I mean, it's not just the cryptid that might find you or you might find it, but it's the rattlesnake, the diamondback.
Tripping and breaking an ankle in subarctic weather.
Break an ankle. You could have a bear coming at you, mountain lion, whatnot, whatever. Even a tick, a little tiny tick.
Yep. Just ruin your day real quick.
Yeah, prepare. Be careful out there, and please, as always, look up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, gentlemen. Well, you guys have a good night now.
You too, guys, and everyone out there. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again next Wednesday night, guys?
Yep.
Hopefully.
All right, everyone, be good. God bless, and everyone be good to each other. Have a good night.